Hi, my name is Angela Zhao, and my study is called Putting the Brakes on Parkinson's Disease Progression, Early Stage Deep Brain Stimulation, and Daily Exercise. So my interest in Parkinson's disease began when I took on an internship at the Portland VA, and I learned about how people's lives were affected by this. I got to read current studies, and I saw this problem and was inspired to design this study. So as we speak, approximately 10 million people in the world have Parkinson's disease. This is about 1% of the population. It could be your grandfather, your father, or even you in a few decades. The problem is we are an aging population. That means that percentage is going to increase in the next 20 years. And according to the Michael J. Fox Foundation, $51.9 billion is the annual cost of Parkinson's disease to individuals, families, and the United States government. So what is Parkinson's? It's a neurodegenerative disease marked by the loss of dopamine cells that leads to motor dysfunction. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that enables motor function. So this loss can be visually observed, as you can see in this image, where there's a deficit of neuromelanin in certain parts of the brain. So the brain is able to compensate until roughly 80% dopamine loss occurs. Now this is called the floor effect, when dopamine levels are close to or have hit their lowest points. And that's when motor symptoms begin to appear. The main motor symptoms are tremors, freezing of gait, postural instability, and slow movement. Now, motor issues are seen so much later in progression, however, that by the time diagnosis occurs, we've hit this floor effect already. The problem is there's only symptomatic treatments available currently. There's nothing to slow the progression or cure Parkinson's disease. One example of this symptomatic drug treatment is L-DOPA. It's a synthetic precursor to dopamine. However, there are adverse side effects from taking too much of it because as Parkinson's disease progresses, L-DOPA dosage needs to increase alongside it. Deep brain stimulation, or DBS, is a minimally invasive surgical procedure that can be used to treat severe motor issues. It involves the insertion of electrodes into certain regions of the brain and stimulates neurons at a specific frequency. Traditionally, this procedure is done in the later stages of Parkinson's disease after drug treatments have proven to be ineffective. However, in some past studies, the most notable being Vanderbilt University, they were able to reverse this. So they did early stage DBS, where DBS was done earlier on in progression. This showed to decrease motor function or improve motor function and reduce the dosage of L-DOPA needed. However, the data was largely inconclusive. There's no evidence of disease modification or recovery of dopamine levels. Now, other studies have shown that exercise leads to motor recovery in mice, but none have pursued this combination. So that leads me to my study, which is early stage deep brain stimulation coupled with daily exercise. So my study will fix this problem of inconclusive data by using brain scans for dopamine biomarkers and tracking neurotransmitter levels. And because exercise has been shown to be protective in animals, this is a great opportunity to extend that to humans. Here's an overview of my study. There'll be 4 experimental groups, with one group having all 3 elements, having L-DOPA as a primary treatment, DBS, and participating in an exercise program. Data will be collected at the initial 6-month and 12-month marks. So UPDRS is an evaluation called the United Parkinson's Disease Rating Scale. This can be done to track the progression of Parkinson's in patients. And UPDRS, brain scans, and the interpretation of all this data will be carried out in all groups to see if disease progression actually slowed. These studies done separately are promising. They seem to point to slowing disease progression, but my study will combine the two. My 1-year proposed study, if successful, will be extended into a 5-year study, and the ultimate goal will be slowing Parkinson's disease progression. Currently, the team is me, but I will reach out to researchers at 20 sites across the world to create this network. A neurologist and neurosurgeon from each site will be needed for UPDRS and DBS, and each of these sites will be asked to identify 8 newly diagnosed patients for a total of 160 participants. So besides the team, what I'm asking for is help to find funding sources for the initial and longitudinal study costs, which totals up to $17.2 million. Now, this is a very, very small investment compared to what the current cost of Parkinson's to families in the US, and that is $51.9 billion. So spending an initial 17.2 million for a potentially disease modifying study will save us billions later and save us millions of lives. Thank you.